Okay, so now that we've had it downloaded, it'll say something like synchronized here less than a minute ago. We can now, by clicking on the arrow to the right of the repository, we can go into the site-to-site.github.io. And you'll see here that even though you've never added anything to this, you've only just recently forked it, under the History tab, it already has its whole history. So you're actually inserting yourself into the history of this project. And so here you can see also in the largest text, update assignment1.md. This is the commit message. So every time you make a commit, you'll give it a summary or a message that says what you did. On the bottom, the number 274E73C is the unique identifier for that commit. So GitHub will stamp it, and you can always kind of go back to an earlier version. And you can see Troy TH was the person who made the commit. So over time, with more collective projects, you'll actually be able to go through the history and see many different names of people that have contributed to them. And on the right, you'll see the file or files that have been changed. So in this case, it was assignment/assignment1.md. And you can see I made a change here where I deleted this line, which is in red with the minus next to it, and added this line, or made this change, which is in green with a plus next to it. If you go into changes, this is going to be the tab where you're going to be doing your committing. So this is where you'll put your commit summary. You'll click commit and you'll sync, and I'll show you how to do that in a moment. So now that you've cloned it locally, if you go into the Finder on a Mac or Windows Explorer on a PC, and go into the directory where you cloned site-to-site.github.io, you'll see you have all the exact same files as are on the on github.com. So now you have them locally. So grab the whole thing, the whole top level directory, and open it in Sublime Text 2, which you can do on a Mac just by dragging it into the icon. And again, you'll see the same structure here on the left. And just by clicking on different files, you can open them in the editor on the right. And if you double click, you'll set a tab. And if you double click more than one, you can open multiple tabs at once, which is one of the nice things about Sublime Text 2. So the first thing to do in this assignment actually is in the Finder or the Windows Explorer. You're going to go inside of Programs, and you're going to grab the boilerplate directory, and you're going to make a copy of it. So on a Mac, you would duplicate it. And then you're going to rename that with the name of your program or app. So I'm going to make one called Global Surround Sound. And make sure to use lowercase letters throughout. And separate any multiple words with a dash so there's no spaces. Once you've done this, it should update automatically here on Sublime Text 2. So you'll see under Programs you've got Boilerplate, and then you've got your copy of Boilerplate in Global Surround Sound. So then open the scenario.md file that's inside, and you're going to want to go through this file and make the changes to this template that will present your scenario. So the first is to skip the top two lines, the layout and style. Everything between the three dashes here at the top is the kind of front matter that will tell the rendering engine how to prepare this file to put it public online. So your program or app may end up on the course website kind of automatically. So keep that in mind. Next is the title. So I'm going to give that Global Surround Sound. I'll just copy that because you'll need it in a couple places. The app is also Global Surround Sound. And then finally, the title of the page is Global Surround Sound. The two hashes on the left here represent markdown syntax for turning this into a title of some sort. So if there was just one hash, it would be the biggest possible title. 2 hashes is the second biggest, 3 is the third biggest, 4 is the fifth biggest, 5, and all the way to 6 is the smallest possible title. But we're going to go with a convention of using 2 as being our biggest. Next, you're going to want to give a 1-sentence or very brief, at most 2 sentences, description of your program or app. And then you're going to go into the scenario, which is the kind of meat and potatoes of what you're going to do for this assignment. And what this will be is a narrative description that'll also be illustrated. And there's a minimum of 2 illustrations in particular that you need to include. But we suggest that you include more, ideally many more. And the idea is to describe either a local or a global app. A local app would be some sort of app that would work on top of connected furniture or connected objects in Studio X New York, thinking of it as a new way of programming a workspace. So if you had this hardware, if you can think forward 6 or 7 weeks to when we will, what would you do with it in Studio X New York? You could, as opposed to thinking locally, you could think globally, in which case the design challenge is to think through how to use those connected objects that can speak to and control one another and collect information from their environment. If they're distributed around the world to multiple remote spaces, what's an app that you would use to connect those spaces remotely? So make sure to include an image basically to include a diagram of how the objects will talk to one another, and some sort of collage that will help to visualize the experience. So a scenario is something that web designers typically use when they're building a website or a web app, and we want you to be in that mode of thinking. So think through who is the user, what are they doing, what is the scenario? Think about it as almost kind of writing the script to a play. What happens, and how does the environment respond, and how would you expect that to change the way that somebody lives in this space? Here's just a couple of examples of things you can do with Markdown. So here is if you want to insert images. If you want a subsection under scenario, just make sure to use more than 2 hash symbols to make it smaller than scenario, so it'll be clear that it's nested underneath. And finally, a link is very similar to an image. It just doesn't have the bang or the exclamation point at the front. And finally, leave the critique section alone. This is for the second part of the assignment, when one of your classmates will take this file, put their critique at the bottom of it, and submit a pull request. So I've made a couple of changes here, just giving it a name. I'm going to save it, and then I'll go back to the GitHub client. You can see here it'll say new. It automatically found this file because it was looking in the directory. The entire file is listed here on the right, and it has plus signs in front of every line, and it's entirely green because it's brand new. So you're going to give your commit summary, which would be something like created global surround sound program / app. I'm then going to commit it. And what commit does is it stores it locally, so it gives it a timestamp, but it has not yet put it up on the internet, up on github.com. So imagine I made a mistake, and I wanted to come in here and actually add something else. Let's maybe add a second subsection, maybe an even smaller subsection, so we'll put a subsection. Oops, I forgot to say, wow. So then I'll go in here and save that one again. You might get this from time to time, asking you to pay for Sublime Text 2. Click Save and go back to GitHub, and you'll see again the program / global surround sound / scenario.md file is defaulted for the commit. But in this case, you won't see the whole file. You'll just see the lines that you changed and a couple lines around them. So added subsection as example would be my commit message. I'm going to click commit, and now I've got a stack of commits here where I've done these 2 changes, but I've still not yet put them up to github.com. So if I go under my history tab, you'll see in the history, because this is local, I've got my 2 commits, first the created and then added the subsection. But on github.com, if I go into programs, I still don't have anything here. I don't have my global surround sound. So I need to do a sync. So inside of the app, I'll just hit sync. And up on the top right, you'll be able to see that it's in progress. And all this is going to do is going to send it up to github.com. And when it's done, this will be gone. And if I come back to github.com and I refresh the page under the programs directory, now I've got global surround sound. So I've just sent this up to GitHub. If I click on global surround sound, I'll see scenario.md inside. And if I did my markdown correctly, it should be nicely formatted. So I should have headings, regular text, images, bullet points, subsections, subsections perhaps, and so on. So once that's done, you'll be done with uploading your program or app. You're going to want to go through and follow the assignment to upload one object and one sensor and one actuator. Once that's done, you're going to want to go through and do what's called a pull request. So because this is in my local directory, I haven't changed anything on the site-to-site version, the main kind of master version. So if I go to github.com/site-to-site, and from there I'm going to go into the site-to-site.github.io repository, so this is the original. And if I go into programs here, I still only have boilerplate and index.md. So this has not been sent up to the main master version, or the original version. It's only on my local version. So the way to do that is to send what's called a pull request. So you click on pull request, you'll go into the pull request section, and then you're going to click new pull request. And that's going to say, what do you want to pull request? Well, you're going to want to send up to site-to-site's master branch, and we'll talk about branches later. You're going to want to send it your Troy TH or whoever you are master branch. And all you have to do that is once you've got into here is to click this where it says click to create a pull request for this comparison. And you're going to give it a title, and it's going to be at Troy TH. All right, let's call it Global Surround Sound Program / app edition by at Troy TH, so at your username. And then you click send pull request. And that's it. So now you've submitted your program app. You should have also already done your sensors and actuators and objects, so that'll all be wrapped into this one pull request. And if you go to site-to-site/site-to-site.github.io and go into the pull request there, you should be able to see that now Troy TH has tried to basically given a pull request for the administrator, which is me, to pull this into the main file. So that's it. You will, once this is up, I will do the pull request, and it'll go into the main repository, and I'll send you an email when this is complete. So you'll be able to see that your changes have gone live. That's it.